environments and non. So we're going to share both of those sides with you today. We're going to show you the traditional separate portals for each, and then we're going to show you the new unified, which I think many of you will find both demystifying as well as educational. So we'll cover that today. As many of you are aware, these webinars are recorded, and after the session will be posted to our YouTube SOG channel. Do feel free to ask questions in chat, but as a ask, we do ask that you keep in mind that this is not a support webinar. So if you do have questions around Purview or any other Microsoft product, we ask you to go through your normal channels for that. So without further ado, I am going to share a bad dad joke. So Chris Baudo, are you there?
Yes.
What did the dad chimney say to the baby chimney?
I don't know.
He said, "You're too young to smoke." Okay.
That's a good
So now that that's thankfully out of the way, I'm going to introduce our presenters today. We have three of them. Maryam Rahmani, she's a global black belt. She'll be taking first spot. And then Sergio Salinas, one of our senior compliance technical specialists. And Chris Baudo, also a senior technical specialist for, if you will, our data and AI group. So without further ado, Maryam, I think I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you very much, Barry. Hi, everyone. I'm taking the control and moving to the next slide. Today, we have a very exciting, let's see if it moves. I did ask for the control, but I'm not able to move the slide.
I can move it, Maryam.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We can go to the agenda. We have an exciting agenda for you today. We are talking to you about Purview unified approach to managing, governing, and ensuring security of your entire data estates. We are going to provide you with an overview and a demo and share some really useful resources. Next slide, please. So Microsoft Purview offers you and empowers you with a platform that you can leverage for your data security, data governance, and data compliance, really putting you in a very good spot in the era of AI, as after all, data is the fuel of AI. Next slide, please. So one thing we want to share is that we have been really in transition from Azure Purview to a software as a service solution that is really aimed at democratizing the data governance across enterprises. Data governance is especially important. You hear me keep saying that because data really powers AI and analytics. So we've been at it for a long time, as I said, and in fact, this approach of a unified platform went GA in September of 2024, and we are very hopeful that we will have this capability in our unified portal available to our government customers very soon. This shift from really platform-based services to SaaS solutions is really geared, as I said, democratizing, really geared to make that data governance accessible by larger audience within enterprises. And Microsoft's Purview's set of solutions have shared capabilities as they leverage the same industry-leading AI-powered data classification technology, data map, connectors, audit logs, visibility, and management experience. Next slide, please. So data governance, all of us know, is not really a new concept. It's been around for decades. And yet we continue to face issues and challenges such as the fact that there are so many copies of data. It's hard to trust the data. It's hard to find the right data for us to get insights from. And it's really also difficult to address data governance challenges within IT and central data offices. And therefore, all of that really leads into shadow business intelligence. So ultimately, data governance practice, like everything else within cybersecurity, is really a team sport. And if tools are really way too technical, hard for folks to use, then what happens is that the data consumers really will end up figuring out other ways to get across things. And if also they are extremely resource intensive, it requires a lot of manual interaction, it really becomes a burden for those data stewards. And if all of that and also a lot of dissimilar tools, it really cause inconsistency, and therefore it's hard for that central data office to scale. So that's really based on our own journey within Microsoft. We felt that the right approach is the federated governance. And that's why we were able to develop this platform and approach it in a way that different folks that interact with it, whether they are the consumers of data, the stewards of the data, and the data office, they all can get that value within their flow of work from the platform. So that's why we brought this solution to market, again, based on Microsoft's own journey. And we are very happy to bring that and empower you with a unified catalog for all walks of life and humans that are interacting with data and data governance. So next slide, please. So what Microsoft Purview offers you is really an ability to have a shared management experience where you can access integrated capabilities all within one portal, one single portal, one pane of glass. This enables unified data security, governance, and compliance solutions equipped for the era of AI, because a lot of what you will see actually has AI embedded in this. And so you can really take advantage of it. Purview provides a unified view of your data security posture for greater visibility across your environments, helping you to minimize your data exposure, stay up to date with corporate and global regulations, especially as they are evolving constantly, and at the same time, really stay very relevant to the quality you're seeking from your data. So this shared value translates into simplicity. The fact that you're able to manage all of it in a simple way, and that in itself leads to consistency of data classification, accurate alerts, and accelerated investigations, and overall better outcomes. So now with this, I hope I set the stage, and I want to hand it to my colleague, Sergio Salinas, to go a little bit deeper into data governance with Microsoft Purview. Thank you.
Thank you, Maryam. Excellent presentation, and thank you for setting the stage. Well, hey there, SLG community, and warm welcome to those of you who will be joining on YouTube. My name is Sergio Salinas. I am your guest speaker for today, and I'm excited to discuss data governance using Microsoft Purview. So without further ado, let's get started. So, today's reality, what data do we have? Is it trustworthy? A lot of state and local government agencies are faced with needing to know what data they have. Do the right people have access to it? How can we enable faster insights to drive better business decisions? And of course, what is the compliance exposure, right? So with Microsoft Purview, this enables a unified data governance. So in many ways, you can reimagine data governance in the cloud. So not just your 365 locations, Azure, your 365 locations like SharePoint, Dropbox, excuse me, your Exchange, your SharePoint, your OneDrive, and your Exchange. There we go. But also your Azure. And if you're using multi-cloud, AWS in different locations. So it'll help you set the foundation for effective data governance. It'll help you maximize business value of data for data consumers and gain strategic insights into the data use across your estate. Now, many of you have probably seen the Microsoft Purview integrated solutions slide. A lot of times when I'm speaking with customers, I'll be covering like the data security. Maybe they're getting started with their information protection labels, DLP, insider risk, or maybe from a data compliance vantage point, they're looking at e-discovery, compliance manager, data lifecycle management. But right there in the center, the data governance is where our topic today is going to really be discussed. And this is usually for our customers who are currently using data catalogs today, maybe with a third-party vendor, or maybe they're interested in how Purview can help them build out their data catalogs, get some data discovery, data quality, etc. So that will be our focus today. Now, it's important to understand that Purview will automatically discover data no matter where it resides. It then can classify it based on sensitivity and compliance needs, allowing you to know the complete data lineage of where your data is derived from. So whether you need to register data in the cloud, or maybe you have some structured data on-prem, Microsoft Purview allows you to build out your data map to automate and manage your metadata at scale. So let's talk a little bit about the governance portal. So when you get started with the Microsoft governance, it's important that you understand you do need to create a Microsoft Purview account inside of Azure. So there's kind of that step one screenshot there. And once that's created, there in step two, you can open up to the overview and see which portal are you going to go to. Now, like Maryam was discussing today about our new governance portal and just that unified experience, for our GCC customers, the classic portal is what's available today for our governance. So since the audience is our SLG, we're going to focus on what tools we have available today. Chris will kind of bring this all together from the classic to the unified. But I just want to call these things out so that you can get some visibility into how to really get started with it. So there are two different types of accounts. You have your enterprise and your free account. So I have customers often ask me, hey, why does my account type show that it's free, right? You know, how do I make the enterprise? So for the enterprise, this is for customers who have, you know, done the steps that were on the slide previously. They've created a Microsoft Purview account inside of their Azure subscription. That's what will light up that enterprise there. Okay, so the free is for customers who have not yet created that account in Azure. Now, the two different portals, there are two different URLs, so those are good takeaways. But from the classic governance portal, you know, also known as the Azure Purview or Classic Governance, it's available for government customers in GCC, which will include the data map and data catalog features. For the unified portal, this does not have the data map or data catalog features available for GCC customers at this time. So it's important to know which portals to leverage when you're going to start your data governance. Okay, and here is just a screenshot here of what's available for our GCC customers here in our web.purview.azure.com. You can see the classic portal, centralized place that provides unified experience for your data producers, consumers, and security office. Okay, and next we'll look at role-based access. You know, this ensures that users have the permissions they need. And here we can see the different levels of access that you can assign to users. And, you know, just the red X there indicates, you know, that the users will not see certain features when logged into the portal. Okay, so like all of our products, RBAC is going to play a big role. Let's talk about the data catalog. So here's the data catalog page, and all the activities that it relates to. You can see there's some catalog metrics. You can see there's 2 sources. Inside this catalog, you have the ability to search, as well as some tiles for some key activities. So when you browse and search, Purview can give you some quick discovery of useful data sets throughout your browse and search experience. Some of those benefits will provide intelligent recommendations based on data relationships, business context, search history. It's also easy for data exploration by browsing by collection or source type, relevant search results without writing complex queries, and leveraging facets to find the exact data you are looking for. So here is some of the top results. There are curated and relevant assets. And if you wanted to check one of those boxes and maybe filter in further on classifications, you have those filtering options as well. Okay, and you can browse by collection to find assets within a specific business unit, as well as browse the data catalog based on source type. So let's talk a little bit about the business glossary. So the business glossary, it's consistent and curated understanding of the business terms and definitions. Again, our customers who are doing data catalogs today are familiar with the glossary, but some of the benefits are understanding business context associated with the data within the org. It does have the ability to do bulk imports of glossary terms, flexible business term definitions, browse and search your data state from a business lens, as well as establish a hierarchy. And here is a quick example of a new term that's been created. There you can see some definitions, parent hierarchy, as well as the ability to add some resources. And here's an example of that bulk import of those business terms. Let's talk about the data map sources. Okay, with data maps, some of the main benefits include being able to curate enriched metadata maps that track across all of your data sources, even if it's sitting on-prem or in another cloud. And this essentially offers a serverless metadata management platform all in one, where you can also leverage various APIs to publish metadata and lineage across your data sources. Okay, so here is an example of registering some of your data sources. So again, your data sources may come from multi-cloud environments, as well as your Azure or on-prem. And once you've registered those data sources, you can set up scans to discover the technical and business semantic metadata. Next, let's look at the data map collections. So creating collections is a great way to organize your assets and provide access controls to make sure only the people intended to have access can use these collections and have the rights to do so. So here you can see a collection here with some role assignments that are giving that access at the collection level. Let's talk a little bit about the data sharing. So you can share data within and between organizations using Microsoft Purview data sharing. So some of those benefits are, easily share in place with no data duplication, near real-time access to shared data, centrally managed sharing relationships, as well as it's supporting Azure Data Lake storage and blob storage. So being able to share from those data sets. And here you can see the data provider creates a new share. and then can assign the asset, and then find the recipient and even put an expiration date for those shares that they're looking to share out. Let's move over to our data estate insights. So Microsoft Purview Insights offers a wealth of information to help you understand the catalog, help you govern and secure your data. So this gives you that view across your data sets, giving you some in-depth view to act on specific sets of understanding and the sensitivity of the data with classification insights. So Insights is your one-stop shop to managing across the breadth of the company's data estate. And here, data stewardship provides an overview of the critical data health metrics with the ability to hover over on metric names and get links to detailed breakdowns. You can also view asset curation levels by collection groups with deeper drill downs. All right, and let's look at the data policy. So there are 3 data policy app experience. One, the data policies, can provision fine-grained broad access for users and groups. From the self-service, there can be workflows, approvals, and automatic provisioning of access requests initiated by the data consumer. And then from the DevOps policies, you can provision access to systems, metadata for IT operations, and other DevOps personnel. All right. Well, I think it's time to bring in Chris to get us started with our demo. Chris, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Sergio.
All right, over to you.
Hey everybody, Chris Baudo. I'm a technical specialist here at Microsoft. I typically focus on data analytics and AI. I've been here at Microsoft about 7 years, and that entire time has been focused on the state and local government space, state and local government customers. And I've also been focused on Azure for that entire time. So I just want to kind of set the context there, because what I'm going to show you here is really within Microsoft Azure. So let me kind of share my screen here. And you all just let me know when you can see.
We can see it, Chris.
Awesome. All right, I just want to kind of set the stage here. Some of you, obviously going to be familiar with M365, O365, and probably Azure to some extent. What you're seeing here is the Azure portal. Typically, you would go to portal.azure.com. You're going to log in with your M365 identity, Entra ID. You'll have a tenant. You can see mine here up in the upper right-hand corner. So whatever is after the @ sign for your login, that's your tenant. And that's important because with Purview, a few things have changed. So Sergio talked about the unification of these 2 different experiences. And so the experience has changed somewhat. So what you would typically do is you go into Azure here. You can see, since I've been working with Purview, I already have this little icon here that says Microsoft Purview accounts. So that's the high-level object that you will need within Azure to begin even working with Purview. So you can also just type in Purview up here in the search bar, just like you search for anything in Azure. You click on that, and you're going to be presented with a list of Purview accounts. Now, before the unification, late last year, earlier this year, when things kind of started rolling out, and this is an important concept. So I just want you to kind of understand this and what it means for your state or your county or your city. Before the unification, you can have multiple Purview accounts. So I have one here. And they recently switched it, so you had to choose one account. Let's say I had 10 accounts that were showing here. You'd have to pick one to be kind of your tenant level or enterprise account. So let's take a typical state with multiple agencies. In the past, we would give each agency their own Purview account. So, maybe DOT has an account, maybe HHS has an account, another agency has their own account, and they would kind of work within that account, and they wouldn't really clash, right? So with the unification, you kind of have to have one account now. So what that means, if you're a state, a county, a city, doesn't matter, there's going to need to be just one account. And then whether you're a agency or a department within that account, you'll get your own slice of that account by domain or by collection. So that's another concept we'll kind of jump into. So once you click on this account here, just like Sergio showed, you'll be presented with a couple of different options. Now, if you are a GCC customer, which the majority of our state and local government customers are, you will need to use this classic portal. For everything data governance, data map, Azure data sources, on-prem SQL servers, and so forth, you'll use this classic portal. And once you click on that, you'll see something that looks like this. Let me kind of branch this out a little bit. Really just 5 options. If you look on this left-hand side, you have a data map, which is the core of Purview, essentially. Data catalog is for searching. We talked about data estate insights in the slides a little bit. Data policy is there. And then you have management capabilities down here at the bottom. So really just 5 high-level things you can do. And the 2 most important of those, in my opinion, are data map. This is where you begin, really. And then for searching, once you have ingested all those data assets you may have, the data catalog is kind of next. Now, remember those terms: data catalog for searching, data map for data ingestion, essentially. Now, this is a GCC tenant that you're seeing here. I'm going to show you the new portal. So if you were to go back to this screen here and you were to click on this new portal, this is the one that Sergio was referring to. Now notice in this new portal, it looks a little bit different. You have a home. That's all well and good. You click on solutions, and this is how everything is referred to now, is as a solution within the new portal. You have different high-level categories: core, risk and compliance, data governance, data security, and so forth. Now, in this new portal, this is GCC, you are missing one thing under core here, and that is data map. So if I go back here to this old portal, data map should be under core here, but it's not because it's not in GCC yet. And if I scroll down a little bit under data governance, rather than seeing something called data catalog, which is what it's called in the old portal here, I should see something called unified catalog. They essentially renamed it when we inherited this new portal. It's called data catalog. In here, it will be called unified catalog. And we'll jump into that here in just a minute. But I just wanted to kind of set the stage here a little bit. If you are a GCC customer and you click on this new portal, all the M365, O365 things that were referred to and security and compliance, most of those things are here. However, anything related to data cataloging, anything that was inherited from Azure, you're going to be missing a data map under core, which it's not here, and you're going to be missing unified catalog under data governance here. So I just wanted to point that out so there's no confusion. So high level takeaway: if you are GCC, you want to click on this classic portal. You have to, essentially. There's no way you can use any of the functionality in the new portal yet. So let me pause there. I'm going to hop over to another tenant that I have. A tenant's, a high-level concept. Most of you all, like we talked about, are GCC customers, you're in what's called a GCC tenant, and that is that's an M365, O365 concept. So this is Azure, and within Azure, you can have, Azure Commercial and you can have Azure Government at a high level. I'm within what's called Azure Commercial here. This is not GCC. So this is not a GCC tenant. This is just like a normal commercial tenant. So let me branch this out a little bit. So same thing here. You're just going to type in Purview or click on Microsoft Purview here. You'll have one account. The account maps to the tenant. So one tenant level account. You'll click on this. And then you should have two options, new and classic. You'll click on classic. If you're a GCC customer, you'll go here. And then these are your options. And in some ways, this is going to simplify things for you. So as we talked about, only really 5 options, 5 high-level things you can do, which if you're getting started, that for me, you'll see the new experience here in a minute, but for me, that kind of simplifies things, right? It enables you to do those core things like scanning data sources, classifying data, creating your glossary and assigning terms, things like that, without really getting into some of the new features that you'll see that kind of complicate things a little bit. Although they are really cool, but the core of what you need to do as a government customer is here. And I just want to point that out and make that apparent. So what do you do? Like, how do you get started within Microsoft Purview here for data governance, essentially? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on Data Map over here. You have to scan some data in. Like, they have a new feature that rolled out, which allows folks to kind of browse Azure assets that they already have access to. But at a base level, Purview is not going to know about your data, essentially. You have to do a registration of that data, as it's called. A lot of the customers I deal with, I clicked on register here on data map. A lot of the customers I deal with, they have certain types of data in mind. I'll just kind of review those. As you can see here, the All tab has all different types of data sources that we support, and this is in our documentation in terms of what we support. Some of the more popular ones, obviously, anything in Azure. So Azure Blob Storage here. Let me go down a little bit. Azure Data Lake Storage is another one. Azure Databricks, that is an analytics tool that's available with Azure. A lot of folks have that. Synapse Analytics is here. So you can either scroll through these sources here, or you can actually type in what you're looking for. So if I were to look for Synapse Analytics, for instance, Synapse would pop up. Another really popular one, if I type in SQL. So you can have SQL servers in Azure, of course. We call that Azure SQL. But down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see this one that just says SQL Server. It's got this gear by it. This is for your on-premises SQL servers. So this is a good segue here. Not only can you scan cloud assets, so Azure, AWS, GCP, which is Google, you can also scan on-prem resources. We'll go by that section here in a minute, but essentially you'll need a integration runtime, as it's called, that allows your on-prem network to communicate with Azure Purview here, or Microsoft Purview, to bring those data assets into Purview. So let me go back here, and I'll kind of cancel out of the screen, but essentially most of them, popular data sources that you have on-prem and in other clouds, even some SaaS applications, they're going to be here within this view here. So that's the first step, is really just registering those data sources. So let me cancel out of that. So here's another high-level concept within the data map. So we talked about registering a data source. When you register a data source, it's going to ask you a couple of questions. So let me go back to storage here. Click on Azure Blob Storage just for illustration. It's going to ask you for something called a domain, and then it's going to ask you for something called a collection. So I talked earlier about how we are really only allowed to have one Purview account now. So within your organization, however you're broken down by agency, by department, or whatever, that's how you're going to organize your data here. So you can see here I have three high-level domains: Contoso, Worldwide Importers, and AdventureWorks. Those are what's called domains, and that's how I'd recommend splitting it up. So maybe DOT gets a domain, HHS gets a domain, Department of Public Safety gets a domain, whatever. And you can also secure those, right? So if I click on View Details here, I'm in the Contoso domain here, and this sales is called a collection. You can also have something called a sub-collection here. So I could create a sub-collection. But essentially, the first question I get is, how do I keep other folks from seeing my data assets? And this is how you do that. You have role assignments by domain and by collection. So I can secure things to a fine degree. Domain, collection, sub-collection. I can allow people to do pretty much anything through the domain admin role. I can have a collection admin, and they can pretty much do anything. I can all go down to the level of just allowing readers, for instance. So I can just have folks who can just read data, but they can't write data. So that's a high level concept and how I would approach kind of splitting, responsibility and segmentation up for different data assets here. All right, so data map, we talked about data sources. We talked about the concept of domain, essentially here. Monitoring of what goes on in your data map. You can do what's called a scan. So when you register that data source, as we talked about previously, let me click on scan here. It's going to ask you to perform what's called a scan. Now, when you go to scan something, essentially it's going to reach out to that data source. You can scan either one time or you can scan on a schedule. It's kind of up to you. So let me click on test connection here. I'll click continue. So I've already scanned this Azure Blob Storage account. It sits in Azure. It has files. It doesn't have tables like a SQL Server would have. But essentially, you can step through this experience. And this is going to vary depending on what your data source is. But I'll just click continue going through here. And this is my schedule. So for the most part, you're going to want to set a recurring schedule. Just kind of think about how often your data changes. Could be maybe it only changes once a month. The metadata, that is, maybe it only changes once every 6 months, whatever. You can set that schedule here, and then as you proceed through these prompts, you'll continue to click continue. And if I were to click save and run, it would go out. It would scan the metadata, and let me kind of pause here and bring this point full circle. Another big question I get is, when you scan my data, do you actually bring the data into Purview and into Azure? And the answer is no. We only scan metadata. Now, you'll see here in a minute, let me cancel out of here. When I go over to the data catalog, you'll see that we scan the metadata. We do some data sampling. We'll scan like the first X number of rows and say a file that's sitting in Azure Blob Storage. But then we throw that away. We only keep the metadata. Now, in the new experience, we do keep some of that data in data quality and data policy, because we have to be able to show you the values that we found there. But in this classic portal, which you're going to use as a GCC customer, we do not keep any data. We just scan it briefly, we sample the data, and then we throw it away. So your data is essentially not stored permanently within the data map here. So just kind of keep that in mind. So we talked about registering, talked about scanning. We talked about the data map, and underneath the covers, the data map uses, and I believe Sergio pointed this out, Apache Atlas, which is an open source framework. So once we get over to the new portal here, you'll see that a lot of things that you do within here will transfer to the new portal. So you're not going to be losing any work if you start out in this classic portal. So let me hop over to the data catalog, show you that. and then we'll kind of go into the new portal. So once you kind of work within the data map, you scan your assets, you're going to get what's called, and I think these are probably the two most important concepts I would kind of take away, is you're going to get something called a classification, and you're going to get glossary terms as well. So this is my typical go-to here. I'll type in customer. We saw like we were able to scan like Azure SQL. You can see when I typed in customer, I have all these filters on the left-hand side. So if I wanted to filter down, let's say by data source type. So I typed in customer, it went to look for a keyword named customer, but that could mean many things, right? I have a Power BI report down here. I have a customer table. I have a Power BI data set. I have many things with the word customer in it. This allows you to kind of filter down and really, only pick out those items that you want. So let me click on customer here. Now, here's the first important concept I would take away. Now, you saw the scanning. I scanned, a data source. It went out there. It found X number of tables, files, whatever. The schema classification down here. Notice this little lightning bolt. It says schema classifications, full name, email address, phone number. Well, how does it know that? That's through that classification capability, right? So when I was talking about the fact that we don't store data, you can see on my screen here where it says sample count 128. So what it did was it sampled the data in this customer table. It picked out 128 rows, and it automatically, I didn't have to tell it this, it automatically figured out there was an email address in there somewhere. But then it throws that data away. And so if I look over in schema here, you can see that here's my table. It's the customer table. It has all these columns, right? But if somebody were searching for full name, for instance, in our data catalog, they would be able to find it here. So that's another concept. I know we're pressed for time here, so I'll kind of hit over in the new portal here. So I click on customer. We talked about these classifications. Let me click edit here. You can also have something called a glossary term. So if you have a synonym or an alternate term or business-friendly term for something, you can also assign these glossary terms. I believe Sergio talked about this a little bit. So that's the two big things, classifications that are automatically done. You can also have custom classifications and custom classification logic. And then you can also have these glossary terms. So those are the two big things that I would look out for. Lineage is another big thing folks look for. So I'm bringing data from point A to point B. What does that look like? So this lineage here, I can see that I scanned my table. I clicked on, it goes to another view called customer sales. And then you can assign folks in your organization to manage this data. So we'll have data experts and data owners. You could assign those folks here. This is inherited from Entra ID. So let me skip over to the new portal, and then I'll hand it back to Sergio here. So the new portal. So I previously showed you, if you're a GCC customer, you're going to be missing a few things. This is a non-GCC tenant. So let me look here. You can see there's data map that is present now. And then if I scroll down, you'll see that unified catalog is here. So just to reiterate, as GCC customer, you won't see these, but once they become available, you will see these two things. So let me click on data map here. And so while this is coming up, so I mentioned that Apache Atlas is an open source technology that backs this data map, right? So I've actually tested this concept out here. I'll scan something in that classic portal, and then I'll look for it in the new portal, and it actually works. Or I'll scan something in the new portal, and then it also pops up within the classic portal. So just want to bring home that concept. You're not going to lose any work, but we'll just kind of skip through here and just kind of, you'll see that some of the screens kind of look the same, right? Data sources is here. Scan rule sets, integration runtimes that we talked about to be able to get that on-prem data. Private endpoints, of course, classifications. We talked about classifications and how those are automatically done. And then let me hop over to the unified catalog. So we were in the data map. We're in the unified catalog here. As you can see, a lot more functionality, which is good in some ways, but it also can be a little bit confusing because there's a lot more stuff here. New concepts, right? So in this unified catalog, we're going to have a new concept called a data product, which is not in the classic portal. That's going to be new. Data assets will stay the same. The look and feel is a little bit different. Glossary terms are going to be here as well. Let me see, some classic types. These are things that kind of are brought over from that classic portal into the new portal. So we'll have that. Another big feature that folks are really interested in, and this is not in the classic portal, but it's in the new portal, but it's going to be cool once you get it. It's going to be called data quality. So we're going to be able to actually not only scan the data, but we're going to be able to actually look at the quality of the data we scanned. So let me show you this real quick, and then we'll talk about pricing, and we'll hand it over to Sergio. So data quality. So a lot of things here about what's the quality of your data. Before you can do data quality, you have to data profiling, and you can see here cool stuff. So it kind of tells you, gives you a little bit of profile of your data. All right, so let me spend 2 minutes really talking about pricing. I will stop sharing my screen real quick. And let's kind of get into pricing. So with the classic portal, you're going to have what's called the old pricing model. I'll refer to it as old. Let's call it the classic pricing model. Purview, what I showed you, is very inexpensive. So folks asked me to price out Purview without even getting into any calculators. And if you were to look in the Azure pricing calculator and try to price out Purview, what I showed you, you would be confused. I wouldn't recommend that. So I just tell the average SLG customer it's going to be $500 to $1,000 a month to scan your data assets. And that is dependent on 2 factors. How many assets are you scanning? So how many tables or how many files in various data sources you may have? How many of those things do you have? And then number 2, how often do you scan those? So the more data assets you want to scan, and the more frequently you want to scan those, that's going to drive your price up. But I have tried, we have an internal calculator if you need to get into that. I've tried to get that price up, and it's difficult to do. Like, you would have to be scanning like your entire organization's data to really get over much more than $1,000. So to reiterate, $500 to $1,000 for a typical Purview implementation is not unheard of. So that's the classic pricing. The new pricing, which you don't have to worry about as a GCC customer. So don't even worry about what I'm about to tell you. Just know that it will be coming once those new features that I showed you roll out to the new portal. There's going to be a new pricing model. And good news, it's actually going to be cheaper. So no longer do we charge you in this new pricing model for scanning data assets in. You could have 10,000 SQL servers, and you could scan those things in. And as long as you're not doing anything with them, as long as you're not managing them, as long as they're not in the data product that we saw, as long as you're not looking at the data quality, as long as you're not doing any data profiling, if you're just scanning those things, you don't get charged, right? So just scanning in the new pricing model, you won't get charged. It's only when you begin to manage those, right? You put those things in a data product. You look at data quality. You look at data profiling. That's when we charge you like a nominal fee. And anecdotally, what I've heard is that it's actually going to be cheaper than what I already told you. So let me pass it back over to Sergio. We'll go from there.
Excellent presentation, Chris. Thank you so much. Again, team, we are going to be sending out some resources so that you can look over your different resources for data governance, the purviews, and how to really get started. All of our recordings will go to our SLG community YouTube channel. I know there were a couple of comments in the chat about challenges using the chat, so you do need to be a member of the SLG community. So once we stop recording, we'll get some information so we can get some links to you. So how to get started with Microsoft Purview. We do have some partner-led workshops, as well as our customers who are using unified support to help accelerate these efforts. as well as fast track assistance. So we can, be sure to schedule some meeting time with your SLG compliance specialist for more demonstrations. And we will be looking at our next webinar, May 29th. As always, thank you for all that you do. Barry, see if you can bring us in and close us out.
Thank you, Sergio. So I'm going to throw, let's stop recording and let's throw it open for questions.